Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people in the room are often the ones who aren't afraid to admit they don't have all the answers? Think about it. While everyone else is wearing a mask of perfection, pretending they've got it all figured out, there's that one person who says, "I messed up," or "I need help with this," and suddenly, everyone leans in closer. That's not weakness. That's weaponized vulnerability. And once you understand the dark psychology behind it, you'll never look at human interaction the same way again. We've been lied to our entire lives. Society told us to never show weakness, to always have our guard up, to project invincibility at all costs. But here's the uncomfortable truth that master manipulators and elite negotiators have known for centuries. Strategic weakness is the most powerful tool in human psychology. Today, I'm going to show you why the person who admits their flaws often controls the entire room, why appearing vulnerable can make you untouchable, and how the world's most influential people use calculated weakness to build empires of trust and loyalty. But I need to warn you. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing it everywhere, from boardrooms to personal relationships, from political speeches to your everyday conversations. Let's start with what I call the armor paradox. When you walk into a room wearing emotional armor, projecting nothing but strength and perfection, something fascinating happens in other people's brains. Their defense mechanisms activate immediately. They start looking for cracks, searching for the facade, waiting for you to slip up. Why? Because perfection isn't human. And humans don't trust what isn't human. But when you show a calculated weakness, a strategic vulnerability, something magical occurs. Those same people who are analyzing you with suspicion suddenly relax. Their psychological guard drops. Because you've just done something incredibly rare in today's world. You've shown them you're real. Here's the dark psychology at play. When someone sees you as invulnerable, they see you as a threat. But when they see your humanity, they see an ally. And people protect allies. They trust allies. They follow allies. Think about the last time someone in authority admitted they made a mistake. Did you think less of them? Or did you actually respect them more? That's the paradox. The admission of weakness created strength. Now let's dive deeper into what I call the trust equation. And this is where it gets really interesting. Trust is built on 3 pillars: competence, reliability, and vulnerability. Most people obsess over the first 2. They want to appear competent and reliable at all costs. But they completely ignore the 3rd pillar. And it's actually the most powerful one. Here's why. When you demonstrate competence without vulnerability, people respect you, but they don't connect with you. When you show reliability without vulnerability, people depend on you, but they don't open up to you. But when you add strategic vulnerability to the mix, everything changes. You become more than just capable. You become human. You become trustworthy. You become someone people want to protect, support, and champion. I've watched this play out in negotiations, in leadership positions, in relationships. The person who says, "I'm not sure about this. What do you think?" doesn't lose power, they gain influence. Because they've just invited collaboration instead of demanding compliance. And here's the really dark part. Once someone feels protective of you, once they've invested in helping you, they become psychologically committed to your success. It's called the Benjamin Franklin effect. When people do favors for you, they convince themselves they must like you. Otherwise, why would they help? Strategic weakness turns people into stakeholders in your journey. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever held back from showing vulnerability because you thought it would make you look weak, only to realize later that your walls were actually pushing people away? If this resonates with you, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We dive deep into psychological strategies like this every week, and I want to make sure you don't miss out on content that could genuinely change how you navigate the world. And drop a comment below. Tell me about a time when showing vulnerability actually made you stronger. I read every single comment, and your stories help build a community of people who understand that real power comes from authenticity, not armor. All right, let's keep going, because the next part is where this gets really tactical. Not all weaknesses are created equal. And this is where most people get it catastrophically wrong. There's a hierarchy to vulnerability. And understanding this hierarchy is the difference between building trust and destroying your credibility. At the bottom of the hierarchy are incompetence weaknesses. These are admissions of failure in your core area of expertise. If you're a surgeon, you don't admit you're not great at surgery. If you're a financial advisor, you don't say you're bad with money. These admissions don't build trust. They obliterate it. In the middle of the hierarchy are circumstantial weaknesses. These are limitations based on your current situation. I don't have all the information yet. I need time to think about this. I'm outside my comfort zone here. These admissions are neutral. They're honest, but they don't create strong bonds. At the top of the hierarchy are humanity weaknesses. These are universal human experiences that don't diminish your competence, but reveal your humanity. I felt nervous before that presentation. I struggled with imposter syndrome early in my career. I don't have all the answers, and that used to terrify me. These top-tier vulnerabilities are psychological gold. Why? Because everyone has felt these things. When you admit to them, you're not showing incompetence. You're showing courage. And courage is magnetic. The dark psychology masters know exactly which weaknesses to reveal and which to conceal. They craft their vulnerable moments like artists, choosing admissions that make them relatable without making them questionable. Let me show you how this plays out in real-world power dynamics. Imagine you're walking into a difficult conversation. Maybe it's a negotiation. Maybe it's a confrontation. Maybe you're asking for something you desperately need. The person across from you expects you to come in with demands, with strength, with force. They're prepared for battle. Their defenses are up, their counter-arguments ready. But what if you start with calculated weakness instead? Before we begin, I want to be honest. I'm nervous about this conversation. I really value our relationship, and I'm worried about saying the wrong thing. Watch what happens. Their entire psychological framework shifts. They weren't expecting that. They can't deploy their prepared defenses against vulnerability. You've just disarmed them without them even realizing it. This is the disarmament technique, and it's devastatingly effective. By showing weakness first, you've created a safe space for honest dialogue. You've removed the adversarial dynamic. You've transformed a potential conflict into a collaborative problem-solving session. Politicians use this. CEOs use this. Master negotiators use this. And now you know it too. But here's the crucial part, and listen carefully, because this is where ethics come into play. This only works long-term if your vulnerability is genuine. If you're faking weakness to manipulate, people will eventually sense the artifice. And when they do, you'll lose not just the advantage, but their trust entirely. The most powerful form of this technique comes from real vulnerability used strategically. You're not inventing weaknesses. You're choosing which real vulnerabilities to share, when to share them, and how. Here's something most people never consider. Showing weakness strategically makes you immune to criticism. Think about it. If you publicly acknowledge your flaws before anyone else can point them out, you've just stolen every critic's ammunition. They can't expose what you've already exposed. They can't use against you what you've already owned. I call this the immunity effect, and it's why comedians make jokes about their own insecurities before the audience can judge them. It's why great leaders address potential criticisms head-on, rather than hiding from them. When you own your weaknesses, You control the narrative around them. You get to frame them in your own terms, in your own context, with your own explanation. Critics and competitors can't weaponize what you've already integrated into your story. This is advanced level psychological defense. You're not building walls to keep attacks out. You're removing the target entirely by admitting to imperfection before anyone else can exploit it. Let's talk about leadership, because this is where showing weakness becomes absolutely crucial. The old model of leadership was the infallible commander, the person who never doubted, never faltered, never showed fear. But that model is dead. And you know why? Because nobody trusts it anymore. Modern followers, whether in business, in social movements, or in personal relationships, don't want invincible leaders. They want authentic ones. They want leaders who say, "I don't know," when they don't know. Leaders who say, "I was wrong," when they were wrong. Leaders who say, "I'm scared too," when everyone's scared. This creates what I call the leadership paradox. The leader who admits uncertainty inspires more confidence than the leader who fakes certainty. Why? Because when a leader admits they don't have all the answers, but they're committed to finding them, followers feel included in the journey. They become partners in the solution rather than passive recipients of commands. But when a leader pretends to have all the answers, followers know it's a lie, and they start wondering what else is a lie. Trust erodes. Loyalty weakens. The illusion of strength creates actual weakness. So here's what we've uncovered today. Showing weakness isn't about making yourself small. It's about making yourself real. It's about understanding that in a world full of masks and personas and carefully curated images, authenticity is the ultimate power move. The people who master strategic vulnerability don't lose respect, they command it. They don't lose influence, they multiply it. They don't lose control, they gain something far more valuable: genuine connection. But remember this. The key word is strategic. This isn't about oversharing. It's not about making yourself a victim or dumping your problems on everyone around you. It's about calculated authenticity, knowing which vulnerabilities to share, when to share them, and with whom. The strongest people I've ever met aren't the ones who never show weakness. They're the ones who show it intentionally, courageously, and at exactly the right moments. If this video changed how you think about strength and vulnerability, I need you to do 3 things. First, smash that like button. It tells the algorithm to share this with more people who need to hear it. Second, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're building a community of people who understand that true power comes from authenticity, not pretense. And third, share this video with someone who's struggling right now. Someone who thinks they need to have it all together. Someone who's wearing armor so heavy, it's crushing them. This message could change their life. Drop a comment and let me know. What's one vulnerability you've been afraid to show? You don't have to share the details, just acknowledge it. Sometimes naming it is the first step to owning it. Remember, the world doesn't need more people pretending to be perfect. It needs more people brave enough to be real. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong by staying authentic.